My MacBook Pro is dying once again. Okay, so I'm having another issue with my MacBook Pro, and this one is even bigger than the T2 crashes that I've been having for quite some time now. And in this video, I want to talk about that specific issue that I'm having right now, because it might be something that some of you are experiencing as well. And in that case, you do have a faulty MacBook Pro, by the way, and you should go to the Apple Store and get it fixed as soon as possible. So here's everything you need to know about the hashtag CPUgate. Okay, so for the past 3 weeks or so, I've noticed something really interesting and odd and quite unpleasant. So when my MacBook Pro does something very intensive, like exporting a video or 3D concept or running some benchmarks or any game for that matter, it starts lagging really, really badly, which is pretty normal for when, the CPU is maxed out. So then I had to look at the CPU clock speed only to find out that it was running at 1.6 gigahertz or even lower than that, 1 gigahertz, and yes, as low as 0.8 gigahertz under load. So you can actually measure your clock speed by downloading tools such as Intel's Power Gadget or iStat menus. Left the link for those in the description, by the way. And I highly encourage you to do that. So download the tools, install Power Gadget, and look at the clock speed and make sure that when you're doing something intensive, the clock speed is running at what Apple advertises as the base clock speed. So this is a 2018 MacBook Pro. It has a 2.9 GHz Intel Core i9 6-core processor, which can turbo boost to 4.8 GHz, which it never does, of course. But after Apple's thermal throttling fix, which was last year, it was actually running at 2.9 GHz most of the times. Okay, so 1.6 gigahertz and lower under 100% usage means that it's throttling really, really bad. But then when I looked at the actual temperatures, they were just at around 60 degrees Celsius. And the fans were spinning up like crazy. And yeah, the performance was just horrible at this point. At less than 1 gigahertz clock speeds, I could barely do anything on this computer. It was pretty much unusable. Okay, so it seems to me like something is either faulty with the processor, or the temperature controller, the sensor, or macOS is simply just glitched. So I reset the PRAM, the SMC to fix any of the issues that a temperature sensor or the fans might have had, but nope, I was still having the exact same problem. Next up, I even formatted the flash module a number of times. I reinstalled macOS a number of times, 3 times actually, and I was still having the exact same issue. And guess what? I did install Windows via Boot Camp, and this was happening in Windows as well. So yes, it appears that the CPU inside my MacBook Pro is failing. Yeah, I don't think it's a temperature sensor, since even at full 99 degrees and 100% usage, the CPU would have stayed at 2.5 GHz or so in the past, but at the moment, well, not anymore. Also, in some cases, my battery was at 86% or so. I plugged in the MacBook to charge it, and then 2 hours later, it was still at exactly 86%. And yes, even after a restart, it was exactly the same. Now, this only happened to me about 4 times in total since I've had this MacBook Pro. But yeah, the CPU issue is happening pretty much daily for me now. Okay, so Daniel, why are you making a video on this? Just shut up and go to the Apple Store and get it fixed. Well, no. I've had so many issues with this generation of MacBook Pros that I believe that anyone that buys a new MacBook Pro deserves to know how unreliable and how bad the quality control on these MacBooks has been for the past few years. Yes, in my 2019 15-inch MacBook Pro review, I have mostly praised the 2019 MacBook Pro for its performance gains over the 2018 model, but issues like this only start happening after you use a MacBook Pro for at least 3 weeks or so, after which Apple's return policy would have expired. Yes, in case you don't know, Apple offers just a 14-day return policy, which is just a joke. It is the lowest return policy that I've ever seen for any tech company. And Apple's the biggest tech company out there, which makes it even worse. Now, if you do speak to a manager, you can get it extended to 30 days if you have some issues. But yeah, so they will make exceptions for you in some cases, but by default, it is just 14 days. Amazon, for example, offers you a 30-day return policy by default, but if you have any issues with your product within a full year of purchase, yes, a full year, they'll give you a full refund. No questions asked, which is just incredible. Like 1 year for Amazon's return policy with any issues that you have for the product versus 30 days with Apple. And again, you have to speak to a manager, so it's not even that easy to get a 30 days return policy. And by default, it's just 14 days versus 30 days and 1 year for any issues. It's crazy. Apple is known to have the best customer support after Amazon, and honestly, if this is indeed the case, then Amazon is definitely number 1, but Apple is number 100 with no other company in between. Okay, now going back to my MacBook Pro issues, I want to go a bit more in depth regarding the T2 crashes. So in the 2019 MacBook Pro review, yes, I did have some crashes with that as well, and I've seen a lot of your comments saying that you also have MacBooks with a T2 chip and you never had a crash at all. Okay, so let me explain. The T2 processor is essentially a co-processor that was introduced with the iMac Pro in 2017. And it handles a lot of the main tasks that the Intel processor would normally handle, from the boot sequence to the flash module controller, the disk encryption in real time, the camera, the microphones, and so much more. Long story short, it is a good thing, since not only do you get the new Find My app to work in macOS Catalina, and you can now locate your Mac when it gets stolen, even when you're not connected to Wi-Fi, so that's amazing, and it only works with T2-enabled Macs. But it also improves the performance of your main Intel processor, and you also get much better performance for H.265 video encoding, for example. You also get a Hey Cindy command on your Mac. So yeah, you do get a lot of really nice features. However, with that T2 processor, your Mac now has two entirely different CPUs. So you have the main Intel CPU, which is based on the x86-64 architecture, and then you have the T2 chip, which is based on the ARM architecture. So these are two completely different things. It's not even like saying, oh, there's an English guy and a Chinese guy trying to communicate. It's like saying, oh, having a human and an alien from far, far away that communicates through telepathy and images, yeah, trying to communicate. Maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but you get the idea. These two CPUs cannot communicate by just themselves. They need a translator. And that translator is called BridgeOS. BridgeOS is actually a modified version of watchOS. Yes, the software that you will find on an Apple Watch. And the T2 is an iPhone chip similar to the Apple A10. So the T2 is an iPhone chip that runs Apple Watch software inside your MacBook Pro. But yeah, BridgeOS is the OS that allows the T2 processor to communicate with the main Intel processor and macOS. However, since this is such a difficult thing to do, yes, it is actually more difficult to do than having an ARM MacBook, which Apple is known to be working on, by the way. It does cause a lot of issues. I mean, just go on Google and type BridgeOS and you'll see the kind of articles that you'll get. People getting lots of crashes, shutdowns, kernel panics, and more, all because of that T2 chip. There are even thousands of posts on forums such as MacRumors and a few others highlighting this very same issue. Okay, but like I said, some of you don't have this issue at all. Well, you might have it, but maybe you just didn't know that it was a T2 crash in the first place. So in my case, it's pretty bad. So I get T2 crashes every single week, sometimes even multiple times a day. Like, I think I had T2 crashes 5 times a day last week, so that was really bad. Yeah, and essentially what happens is that my MacBook Pro freezes. I cannot even press the trackpad, so everything freezes and it shuts down on its own. The fans start spinning up like crazy, and on reboot, I get a message from macOS that it shut down because of a system error, and then if you click on the report button, it will give you a full log message as to what actually caused that crash. And if you see BridgeOS on the first line, that's how you know that you've had a T2 crash. Now, I found that most T2 crashes actually happened when I'm using Thunderbolt accessories. And when I say Thunderbolt accessories, I don't mean USB Type-C accessories, I mean the actual Thunderbolt 3 ports, using those things to the max. So the way I use my MacBook Pro is I have an LG Ultrafine 5K monitor connected, as well as our office server, which does support Thunderbolt 3. And I use those for many, many hours every single day. Sometimes I even connect the eGPU, so I use 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports daily, sometimes 3 ports with eGPU, and very rarely I connect an additional SSD, in which case I'm using 3 Thunderbolt 3 accessories as well as 1 USB 3.1 Gen 2 accessory. And the T2 crashes happen the most when I'm using 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports or more. So now some of you might say, oh, well, your MacBook Pro is faulty. It's just you that are having issues. Well, here's the thing. I've tried a 2019 15-inch MacBook Pro and had the same issue. I tried a 2018 MacBook Air and I had the same issue. I tried a 2018 Mac Mini and I had the same issue. I even tried 2 different MacBook Pro 13 inches, 2018 and 2019, and both of them have the exact same issue. Okay, Daniel, well, in that case, it's probably your monitor or your server causing these crashes, right? Well, it turns out that I've even had T2 crashes when I had nothing connected to any of the Macs. Yes, it happened on all of those Macs that I mentioned before. So this is a genuine issue. It's just that maybe some of you that have experienced a crash didn't know that it was a T2 crash, since you haven't looked in the log message to see what the actual reason for the crash was. Also, Apple is fully aware of this. In fact, they've actually released a critical fix for all the 15-inch MacBook Pros with a T2 processor earlier this year. But nope, they haven't fixed anything. I was still having those issues, and it was a bit odd how they've only released the update for the 15-inch models, not the 13-inch models, the iMac Pro, or the Mac Mini, or the MacBook Air. So that was a bit odd, since yes, all of those devices do have the T2 processor. So yeah, while it doesn't happen to every workflow, with my workflow, it does happen very often, and there are thousands of others who are experiencing the exact same issue. So yes, Apple still hasn't sorted Attitude crashes yet, and that's really, really bad, considering that all of their newest computers do come with a Attitude processor now. Yes, even the upcoming $50,000 Mac Pro. But my point of this video isn't to just say that the 2018 and the 2019 MacBook Pros are faulty. Nope, even the 2017 and 2016 models, which didn't come with a T2 processor, still had a ton of issues. In fact, my 2016 MacBook Pro was the product that I've had the most issues with out of all the tech products that I've used over the years, and yeah, trust me, I've used quite a few of them over the years. So my 2016 MacBook Pro's keyboard failed twice. My speakers blew out in Windows, after which they were fixed, only to blow out again in macOS. The 2019 MacBook Pro has been released. Actually, no, it hasn't. But wait, it actually has. Yeah, my GPU was failing, the MacBook Pro itself was making those loud popping noises, and they were so loud that you could even hear them in some of my previous videos, my older videos, because yes, I was recording, I had the microphone connected to the MacBook Pro and it picked up everything, including those popping noises. So yeah, that was really, really bad, and thanks to Apple's brilliant customer support, they tried to repair it twice, which took about 1 month in total, so 2 weeks for each repair, during which I was without my main computer. My main work computer, I didn't have it at all. Apple still didn't give me a replacement, and they still don't give anyone a replacement during repair, which is, I would say, the worst practice ever, especially when someone, you know, when Apple takes your main work computer away for like 2 weeks or sometimes even more than that. Anyway, after many phone calls, emails, and going to the Apple store, it took Apple about 8 months after I was experiencing these issues to finally fix my MacBook Pro by replacing my MacBook Pro with a new unit, which was the 2017 model at that time, since the 2016 was no longer manufactured. Also, something that I haven't really mentioned in any of my previous videos, as far as I remember, they haven't given me the top spec 2017 as my 2016 one was. Instead, Apple gave me the equivalent in performance, so I didn't get the highest end CPU configuration, even though, yes, my 2016 one was top spec'd. And this was also messed up because my 2016 top spec was actually selling for more than the closest top spec 2017 model that they actually gave me. So I actually lost quite some value there. So yeah, personally, I've had a very bad experience with this generation of MacBook Pros. I've also had a very bad experience with Apple's customer support, and I wanted to share all of these with you, hoping that you would stay away from this generation of MacBook Pros. Now, there is a new generation coming out very, very soon, actually this year, and we've actually done a full video just on that recently, and I've managed to find some very interesting details about this upcoming MacBook Pro 16 inches, by the way, that I don't think anyone has talked about before, so definitely give the video a watch. It's really, really awesome, and the support that we've received over that video, the comments are just incredible, so thank you for that. Give the video a watch. It took a really long time for the research and all that, so yeah, thank you. Check it out, it's pretty cool. But when it comes to this generation, even if you haven't had any T2 crashes yourself, lots of people have. And even more people have had issues with a keyboard, yeah, to the point where it's become a meme now. And because of the keyboard, Apple had lawsuits many times. They had replacement programs quite a few times, even the 2019 models. They got a replacement program for a keyboard the day they came out. What? Really? Not even to mention the thermal issues, the GPU issues, the loose ports issues. Yes, those Thunderbolt 3 ports become loose after about 2 years, and it gets so bad that the accessories start falling from that port the moment you tilt your MacBook Pro. So, you know, that's really messed up as well. And considering that a MacBook Pro can cost as much as $6,500, this is just unacceptable for a Pro device. And we, as consumers, should not accept that. Okay, so just go and buy a Windows computer, Daniel. Well, the thing is, I need macOS. I really need macOS. I prefer macOS to Windows, and I also have software that only works on macOS. So I need macOS. I think I'll build another Hackintosh. I actually built one recently, as in about 6 months ago. Yeah, a Mac Pro competitor. Hackintosh. So you'll let me know in the comments if you want us to do a video on that, because I have a lot to say about Hackintoshes and stuff like that. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you want to see a video on that. But yeah, let me know in the comments your own experience with this generation of MacBook Pros. Have you had any issues? And in that case, what issues have you had? Let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to reading those. And yeah, definitely subscribe, notifications if you want to see more in-depth tech videos like this one. Hopefully this was a bit of a different one, mostly a rant, but like I said, pretty much avoid this generation of MacBook Pro. Stay tuned for the next one, because the next one should be better, hopefully. But yeah, thank you for watching. I'm Daniel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.